Yeah, I obviously, when I first got the job, I read all of the books. I went and talked with the creator, M.R. Hall, the original author. So I like to call them sisters, not twins. They are sisters within the same family, so the same character, the same idiosyncrasies within her, but obviously a different time frame in her life, a different city, and some differences. But if you've read the books and you know the essence of the character of Jenny, I want you to feel that within my character as well. And we actually had M.R. Hall come on set this past season, and he was like, "Yes, it's my Jenny," so that made me feel amazing. Yeah, it is a little bit different for film and television. With film, you know the beginning, middle, and end. The story never changes. But on television, you know maybe the first script you'll get or the second script, and then they'll tell you where you might be going as a character. So at the beginning, you really have to develop who you are, what you stand for, your traumas, your joys. Like, you really pick this kind of toolbox of who this character is, so that when you get thrown a new script, you're already prepared to apply this character. You can't have any wiggle room. You have to know who you are. Where with a film, you have a little more leeway because you know where you're going. It's also our first season, we shot 4 episodes at a time. So we were shooting one from like episode 1 and then episode 4 and episode 2 all in one day. So I had a binder that was like this thick, and I'd be like, okay, where am I going? So I had to make all the choices and track the characters. It's very difficult. I think to shoot a television show and make it clear and concise and have a proper through line is much more difficult than film. It really is. And you really have to trust your writers and your creators, because I've had times where I've signed on for a television show and I'm like, ooh, I'm a librarian, amazing. And then I get the next episode and I'm like, and now I'm a stripper. Great. Like, they can switch it up on you like nobody's business. So I like film because you understand the full picture, but I like television because it really makes you really solidify your character before you even start. Yeah, I think it's really important to show mental health issues. It's funny because I always trip up on saying mental illness and mental health. I think mental health is the arena that we like to play in. She's not always ill. She just has illness that comes into her life. And that's due to trauma. And that's for a lot of people. We have illness like the flu. I can be sick for a week because somebody coughed in my face. I can be sick for a week with mental illness because somebody shouted something at my face. You know, it's the same thing. It's mental versus physical. And yet we make mental illness so much more taboo. We make it something that has such a stigma on it. And so it's really important for me to be able to show that sort of multifaceted nature of what mental health looks like, and not make it something where if you're suffering from mental illness that you're incapable of doing your job. You know, we all have that. I can be crying one moment and pick up the phone and be like, hi, yes, totally fine. You know, like you have the ability to be able to live a very highly functioning life. And we don't seem to see that on television. It's very sort of compartmentalized. So if you have mental illness, you're in an institute, or you're running down the street, or it's a narrative that leads to suicide. That's not the case always. It can be the case, but we need to show this middle ground of what we're all suffering through in the varying degrees. So I really used this opportunity with this character to dive in and do a lot of research on what depression and anxiety and panic attacks and trauma look like, and then how you can deal with it personally and emotionally, and then how you deal with it chemically through prescriptive drugs. So all of those sort of things come together into this beautiful character that I then put into the script and get to play with for our 8 episodes, which is really fun. It was amazing. I've always wanted to do a TED Talk. I never knew what I was going to do a TED Talk on, and it just happened. I think I thought it was going to be more towards my philanthropy. I work a lot with anti-sex trafficking. I work a lot with women's rights and education. And so I thought that was going to be what I would be talking about. Little did I know it was going to be because Marvel shaved my head and because I was a superhero. But that was what needed to be said in that moment. I wrote an article for Glamour magazine on the experience I was having, because for the most part my career was based off of being typecast or stereotyped based on what I look like. And what I look like has nothing to do with me. It has to do with my parents and my genes. So for me, my career is based off of a genetic lineage that I'm like, no, but I am an actor. I want to portray characters that have soul and mental illness and that are struggling with things in life. And so part of my hair was part of the stereotype it played into. So what I didn't realize was, while I was so excited to have my head shaved, I remember Marvel brought in like a therapist to hold my hand while they shaved my head. And I was like, I'm good, I'm great. There's a video on Instagram of them shaving my head. And I was so free, I loved it. And then the backlash happened and people were so angry that I had ruined myself. But I had ruined their image of me. I hadn't ruined myself. It was their image that they gave value to, which was this very kind of shiny object. And I was like, no, that's the outside. You need to get to know the inside. And people unfollowed me. People would send me hate mail. I lost jobs. It was really interesting, all from a haircut. It was this idea of femininity. And so I really love it, because I get letters from young girls to this day saying, I've been bullied, and then I started showing pictures of you, and I'm not bullied anymore. Or I feel great to stand up to a bully. Or I had a teacher that had a young girl that had cut her hair short and was getting bullied. The teacher watched the TED Talk and cut her hair short to prove to the little girl that it was fine, and she always loved her long hair. And she was like, it was interesting to stand into the general public's view and say, no, you don't define me. And that's something that I really have learned, is that how another looks at me should not define how I look at myself. And that's a long journey and a difficult journey, especially in this industry. But this haircut has really made me stand into that and be proud to have short hair. And I'll shave my head again 1,000,000 times. It's tons of fun. See, you have a shaved head, right? It's great. So much little shampoo. Like the first time I went to wash my hair, I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing here. Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna use it as body wash. Like, it's great. It's so freeing. I love it. Yeah, so it was amazing. It was a great opportunity, and I loved working with Ted. That was on my bucket list.